Hello friends, welcome to a new episode of Drishti IAS Editorial Analysis. In this editorial analysis, we do three things. First of all, we link the editorial to the UPSC syllabus. Secondly, we try to understand the key points of the editorial. And thirdly, if any key concepts have come in the editorial and are important from exam point of view, we also discuss that. So let us begin today's editorial analysis.
Dear viewer, this video is available in Hindi as well. If you wish to watch it, please visit our Hindi YouTube channel, Drishti IAS. For your convenience, the link for this video in Hindi has been provided in the description below.
We have taken today's editorial from the Indian Express and it has come on 26th of June. The title of the editorial is Tall Claims and it says Baba Ramdev's so-called cure for COVID flouts medical and business due process while also discrediting Ayurveda. Let us look at its linkage with the syllabus. It links directly with GS paper 2, where we have government policies and interventions, and also another subtopic deals with the issues relating to development and management of social sector services relating to health. So this basically deals with the health sector and the approval of drugs, how the government approves new clinical drugs. So after establishing the linkage with the syllabus, now let us look at its key points. Before moving on to the key points of the editorial, let us understand what the controversy is all about. So here in the picture you can see the Corona kit, which has been launched by Patanjali Ayurveda, promoted by Baba Ramdev, who is a famous exponent of yoga, and he has popularized yoga among the Indian masses in recent times. So basically through this Corona kit, the company is claiming that it is a cure of COVID-19, and this has been met with lot of disbelief, as it is alleged that the company has not followed the clinical procedures for any approval of such drug. And now the Ministry of Ayush, which regulates these alternative systems of medicine, it has banned all the advertisement by Patanjali till the time it examines the claim of Patanjali and either approves or rejects the claim. And Patanjali is not alone in claiming a cure for COVID-19. Few days back, the Glenmark Pharmaceuticals, a company in India, it has also released a drug in the market which claims to cure mild cases of COVID-19. And the name of that drug is Favipiravir. And even that drug has raised concerns because it was manufactured by a Japanese company and it has been used by Russian and Chinese doctors in the initial days of COVID-19, and it was initially for treating influenza, and it has shown mixed results. So claiming it as a cure for mild cases of COVID-19 is also problematic and concerns have been raised. Now coming to Patanjali's claim, this Corona kit contains 2 medicines and 1 oil. So the medicine is Coronil for cough, Swasari is for breathing problem, and also 1 Anu Tel is part of the kit. And separate regulatory approvals were taken for these medicines, and now they have been combined by the company in form of a Corona kit and being advertised as a sure shot cure for Corona, which is problematic. And Patanjali has claimed that 69% of the COVID positive test subjects turned negative in just 3 days, while all test subjects were cured in 7 days. Now these are very tall claims by Patanjali, and under strict scrutiny, they might not survive. Now Ayush Ministry has asked Patanjali to stop all its advertisements because all medicines and vaccines, especially for a disease as dangerous as COVID-19, needs to go through rigorous trials and scientific validation processes. Also, here we should understand that COVID-19 is a unique kind of disease where 85% of the cases are mild or asymptomatic, and these people are cured by themselves without any external intervention. Only in the 15% of cases, hospitalization is required, where also just 5% people need ventilator support. But because it affects so many people that the absolute numbers are very high. So claiming that any medicine is able to cure the mild symptoms is playing with the truth. And such unverified claims can be more harmful because people can become very confident after taking these medicines and they can end up becoming super spreaders of COVID-19. And Ayush Ministry had also issued a circular on 2nd of June to take necessary action against instances of misleading information, false claims and misbranding of products in relation to COVID-19 control. And the problem in India is that the regulatory framework for alternative medicines is weak. Even for the allopathic medicines, it is not great. But for alternative medicines, it is really weak and it needs strengthening. Also, here we need to understand that when the Patanjali claim is being rejected or it is being put to scrutiny, it is not that Ayurveda's efficacy is being questioned. Ayurveda embodies ancient Indian medical wisdom and it needs to be respected. And there are many herbs which are immunity boosters and scientifically proven. But its application in 21st century must adhere to recognized scientific protocols. That is what is the bare minimum and that needs to be followed. So after this background, now let us look at the editorial. The editorial says that Baba Ramdev's so-called cure for COVID-19 not only flouts medical but also business due process. And due process here means that you follow all the rules and regulations for bringing any medicine into the market. It must go through the clinical trials, it must be put to rigorous tests and peer reviews, and then only it should be advertised and sold in the market. Editorial also says that the way Patanjali has gone about it, it also carries a risk of discrediting Ayurveda, which is an ancient Indian science of medicine, and no company should be allowed to do that. Also, the editorial says that COVID cases in India are on an upswing. As of now, almost 4.5 lakh plus Indians are affected by the COVID-19 disease and there have been more than 15,000 deaths. So any claim of a 100% cure of COVID-19 is bound to generate lot of hope, but this should not be a case of false hope or playing with the emotions of the people and with the aim of making profit while peddling a cure which is actually not effective. Also, the editorial says that it is equally important to regulate and guard against any kind of false claims because many people and many companies are looking at COVID-19 as a business opportunity and this should be guarded against, especially by the government. And now the Ministry of Ayush has directed Patanjali Ayurveda to stop advertising its claim of 100% cure of COVID-19 through its medicine Coronil until it examines the claim and all the clinical data. Also, the editorial says that the news reports have indicated that Patanjali Ayurveda has not followed the due process before launching of this Corona kit. And here the important thing to note is that the Patanjali Ayurveda has its manufacturing base in Uttarakhand and the clinical tests have been conducted in Rajasthan, and both these state governments have raised doubts and concerns about the medicine that has been released in the market with the claim that it cures COVID-19. While Uttarakhand government has said that it has not granted any approval to Haridwar-based company to manufacture the Corona kit. In fact, the licensing authority of Uttarakhand has said that the approvals were asked by the company only for standalone medicines for cough, which is Coronil, for which is Swasari for breathlessness, and later on the company on its own combined these medicines in a kit and claimed that it cures corona. On the other hand, the Rajasthan government has also disclaimed any knowledge of any clinical trials of the drug at the National Institute of Medical Sciences and Research at Jaipur. So these statements coming from these two state governments, they also raise lot of doubt about the claims of Patanjali Ayurveda regarding this corona kit. The editorial also says that in the clinical trials conducted by Patanjali Ayurveda, in the Jaipur Institute, when mildly symptomatic patients developed fever during the trials, they were administered allopathic medicines. And this raises grave doubt about the way these trials have been conducted. Ideally, the trials should have been randomized controlled trials where we have two groups of patients, set A and set B. While set A is given placebo, set B has to be given the medicine or therapy. And if there is substantial improvement in the set B, then we can make a calculated guess that maybe this medicine or therapy is effective. But if we are introducing any other drug in the trial stage, then this is vitiated and then this trial will not give the desired idea about the efficacy of the medicine. This randomized control trial is very important. Also, the advertising of Ayurvedic drugs is governed by a 1954 law, which is the Drugs and Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisements Act of 1954. And this particular law, it contains provisions to deal with false claims and directly or indirectly giving false impression regarding the drug. All of this seems to be applicable in this particular case. But because this is a 1954 law, many serious diseases which have come afterwards like AIDS or encephalitis are not listed under the law. So this law also needs revision. And for this, in February 2020, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare had released a draft of an amendment to the 1954 Act. But then COVID-19 pandemic struck and this has gone into a back burner. Right now, the central government has used 1954 Act to scrutinize Patanjali's claims. But the editorial suggests that the government should look at modifying this law so that such instances do not happen, and when they do happen, then the law is there to act against such companies. Also, the editorial says that the aim behind all this should not be to undermine the role of Ayurvedic remedies, which are very useful for many ailments and for the health and well-being of individuals, as many of the herbs in Ayurveda are known to be immunity boosters and they have been proved by scientific studies as well. But the present claim by Patanjali seems guilty of flouting both medical and business ethics, and it also discredits Ayurveda in the process, which should not be allowed. So this was all in the key points of the editorial. Now let us look at key concepts. So in key concepts, let us first look at Ayurveda. So the word Ayurveda is derived out of the fusion of two separate words, Ayu meaning life and Veda meaning knowledge. So the literal meaning of Ayurveda is the science of life, and it aims to keep structural and functional entities in a state of equilibrium, which signifies good health through various procedures, regimen, diet, medicines and behavior change. Now there are two aspects of Ayurveda, preventive and curative. The preventive component emphasizes the need for a strict code of personal as well as social hygiene, and the details of which depend upon the individual, the climate and the environmental needs. Whereas the curative component of Ayurveda involves the use of herbal medicines, external preparations, physiotherapy and diet. Also, we should be knowing about the Ministry of Ayush, which was formed on 9th November 2014 as a separate ministry for the optimal development and propagation of Ayush systems of healthcare. And earlier it was known as the Department of Indian System of Medicine and Homeopathy, which was created in March 1995, and it was renamed as Department of Ayurveda, Yoga and Naturopathy, Unani, Siddha and Homeopathy in November 2003. But in 2014 it became a separate ministry. Now let us look at the Drugs and Magic Remedies Objectionable Advertisements Act of 1954. Now this act controls advertisement of drugs in India by prohibiting advertisements of drugs and remedies that claim to have magical properties and makes doing so a cognizable offense. Cognizable offense means an offense where you can be arrested without a warrant. Now the act defines magic remedy as any talisman, mantra, amulet or any other object which is claimed to have miraculous powers to cure, diagnose, prevent or mitigate a disease in humans or animals. And the penalty under this is a maximum sentence of 6 months imprisonment with or without fine on first conviction. A subsequent conviction may result in imprisonment of up to a year and a fine. So this needs to be revised because this is 1954 law, and lot many changes as well as lot many diseases and systems of medicine have come up in the last so many years. So this needs urgent revision. Now let us look at how a medicine or drug is approved in India. So a new drug approval is a two-phase process. The first phase is clinical trials and the second phase is for marketing authorization of drug. And firstly, non-clinical studies of a drug are completed to ensure efficacy and safety. Efficacy means effectiveness of the drug. And then application for conduct of clinical trials is submitted to the Drugs Controller General of India, DCGI. And thereafter the clinical trials can be conducted, which are conducted in 4 phases, phase 1 to 4. And these studies are performed to ensure the efficacy, safety and optimization of the dose of drug in human beings. And after the completion of these clinical studies, an application to the competent authority is made for the approval of the drug for marketing. And the competent authority reviews the application and approves the drug for marketing only if the drug is found to be safe as well as effective in human beings, or if the drug has more desirable effect as compared to its adverse effects. So it needs to satisfy 2 criteria, safe as well as effective. And clinical trials in India are governed by these 3 acts: Drugs and Cosmetics Act of 1940, Medical Council of India Act 1956 and Central Council for Indian Medicine Act 1970. So after this, let us look at the kind of questions that can be asked in prelims and mains. So in prelims, you can be asked about Ayush, the Ministry of Ayush, the alternative systems of medicine, which are Ayurveda, Yoga, Naturopathy, Unani, Siddh, Homeopathy. Also, a question can be on Ayurveda as well. Also, many questions can be asked on COVID-19. Then we should also be knowing about the clinical trials. These are conducted in the 4 phases, and which are these phases. So these kind of factual questions can be asked. And the various acts which are regulating this alternative system of medicine as well as the drug approval process. In mains, the question can be on the misleading advertisements and what penalties are there for doing that, which acts are governing it, what are the laws for consumer protection. So these kind of things can be asked. Also, question can be asked on the traditional medicine system prevalent in India. So Ayush we should be knowing in detail, especially Ayurveda. Also, a question can be asked on the drug approval process as it is followed in India and what are the shortcomings in it and how it can be made better. So here not only Patanjali has come out with the Corona kit, but the other medicine that has been launched in the market, which is Favipiravir, even that has not followed all the norms which should have been followed in allowing any such medicine, because this medicine is also claiming to cure the mild patients of COVID-19, patients who are showing mild symptoms. So the problem is deeper than just with the Indian system of medicine, and it needs to be looked at objectively, and a proper system needs to be followed for any new drug to be launched in the market. So this was all in today's editorial analysis. We'll see you next time with another editorial. Thank you.